Okay, so let's get our chipboard cut so we can start building our cover. This is some of the chipboard that came in my design team package. It's good, heavy chipboard. So our chipboard, we're going to need 2 pieces that are 6 1/4 by 6 inches. So basically, you can take your 12 by 12, cut one side of it to 6 1/4, and then just cut that in half to 6 by 6. Okay, so there's those. For the spine, I'm going to take my other piece, especially because if you're using a different trimmer, I'm doing it this way because of this trimmer. This trimmer is not the easiest to do small pieces, so there's a trick to it. I have figured out. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to cut it to 6 1/4. We already know that this is 6 inches. No, it's not 6 inches, just kidding. 5 3/4 wide. We need our spine to be 2 1/4. So we're going to put this to, I should have written this down beforehand, huh? Make sure I've got it turned the right way too. Okay, so 6 1/4. We're going to put this to 3 1/2. Actually, I'm going to move this, start from this other direction. I absolutely love this paper trimmer. It is definitely not cheap, but see, if I put it to 2 1/4 here, then it's not quite long enough. But if I do it the opposite direction, which is going to be 3 1/2, you end up having to kind of do some math with this trimmer, which is fine. Okay, so here is our chipboard for our base. Like I said, 6 by 6 1/4. Assuming I've got this turned correctly, I do. Okay. So to cover this, we're going to take 2 sheets of 12 by 12. We're going to cut them to 8 1/4. And then, so this, of course, is enough to wrap our chipboard. However, we don't want to go all the way to the end here. We're just going to pretend I've adhered these together because, of course, obviously we haven't. You don't necessarily, I mean, we could do it this way, and then we're going to have our seam on the, we can position it so the seam's going to be on the back cover, and that would be fine. Typically, I try to get that seam on my my spine because it seems to work a little bit better that way, but I think we are going to go ahead and do it that way. So what I'm going to do, get those out of the way, I'm going to find my 1/2 inch score tape. But before I do that, and this is completely optional, if you have a way that you like to do your albums so that you can easily line everything up, I like to take what I'm using to cover my chipboard, and I like to run a score line at 1 inch on the sides. So I have somewhere to line the top and the bottom up against as I'm putting this together. It just helps me get my chipboard even all the way across so that I don't have, you know, like the spine 1/8 of an inch higher or lower than the rest of the album, because Lord knows I've done that enough times that not something I want to do again. So this is just, you know, I don't even remember. I know I saw this trick somewhere. I don't for the life of me know where. So we're going to run some 1/2 inch score tape on there. We're going to burnish it down. We're going to pull that backing off just a tiny bit and fold it back. And then using both the score lines and the score tape, I'll line this up on here. Up here, push it down, and just, and then there we go. Okay, cover that with the foam folder just to get that good and burnished down. We're going to go ahead and prepare our pieces here. I'm actually going to use, just because I haven't ordered it yet, I know in the Country Craft Creation Shop they do have 6x6 score tape sheets. I've not gotten around to ordering them yet. So instead I have the 8.5 by 11. I think they're 11. Yes, they're 11. So what I'm going to do, because I know this is 6 1/4 wide, I'm actually going to cut this to 6 1/4 wide, which I guess I didn't need to fold that out, did I? And then I'm just going to cut it in half. So it's going to be a tiny bit short here. So this is 11, so we want it to 5.5. Okay. So then this is going to be the right height. We're just going to run a little bit more on the edge there. So this should leave us with almost exactly 2 1/4. It is also going to be 6 1/4 high. And then I'll just hang on to that little piece and use it somewhere else. It's helpful if you get the score tape off of the cutter. Okay, so let's see here. Get my backing started. Maybe, sorta, kinda. For heaven's sake. There we go. Okay, so I'm just going to pull that back part way. I'm going to start this off down here. And I just have to say, the score tape sheets like this are a game changer. They are so easy to use. Your cover will lie perfectly flat. It's smooth. It's just amazing. And I really was kind of like, oh yeah, I don't need yeah, you totally need these. The individual sheets that are the 8.5 by 11, I believe are $1.99 a piece. The packs with the 6x6 have 5 6x6 sheets in them, and those are, I believe, $5. Not a bad deal. And of course, shipping with Country Craft Creations is crazy fast, which is very much appreciated at times. You know, granted, I live about an hour-ish south of where their warehouse is. Unfortunate, but even then, still, it's just, you know, I see people in the group all the time posting about how quickly they get their orders, because literally that's just how it works. I mean, I had an order I placed here a couple weeks ago that, I kid you not, I placed it at like, I don't even know, like 11:30 in the morning. 15 minutes later, 15 minutes, I had a shipping confirmation. It was just insane. I'm actually going to run myself a score line at 1 inch on the other side here, just to kind of help me line this up. Alright, so let's get our backing off. And I am going to work with this turned sideways so that I can kind of see a little bit better what I'm doing and how I'm lining it up. So I am just up against this bottom score line and the side score line. And drop it down. Now, this is a fun little trick that works really well. I did learn this one from Tammy at Country Craft Creations. To get our spacing between our spine and our cover exact, score tape. Because I can pull the backing off of this here in just a second when I go to wrap everything, and that will help adhere the inside cover down, but it helps get your spacing just exact on both sides, so you don't have one side that's, you know, got a little bit more space than the other, because I have done that. I have tried drawing lines, I have tried using, which my other method actually does work too, that I just have like 3 pieces of scrap chipboard that I have sandwiched together that I would hold in here, and that would be about 1/4 of an inch. But doing it this way, I don't have to do that anymore. It's a little bit easier to actually get them down evenly. So I'm just pushing that up against that score tape and even with that score line at the bottom. I'm going to do this one more time. Get the backing off of here. Well, maybe. There we go. And there we go. So now, I'm just going to stick this in here. I'm going to line it up about where the edge of my chipboard is even with the 1 inch mark. Turn that off and we can save this. Okay, so now we can, where's my scissors? Miter our corners. And you, of course, don't want to go, you don't want to go all the way to the chipboard. You want to be out from the chipboard just a little bit. Kind of like so. Okay. All right, so now comes the big question. Before we get any further, because I'll forget otherwise, let's get the backing off of this score tape. It's down here in our little hinge. Okay. We're going to run score tape along the outside edges. And I'm going to run it along this edge as well. Okay. And same thing again. We're going to burnish everything down. Make sure everything's good and stuck. And then we're going to start training our edges. What we're going to do is just use the table to help fold those up and over. Make sure everything's good. And we're going to pull our backing off of everything. All of our tape backing off of the chipboard pieces. And we'll do the backing off of the cardstock sections as we go to fold those. apparently incredibly tape challenged today. Okay, I'm going to start down here, pull this backing off, and I'm actually also going to run apparently not with this one today. The other one. Maybe. I swear my glue hates me lately too. Okay, so we're just going to run a little bit of glue right along the edge there. And again, we're going to pick that up, get that fold started, and then from the middle, press down and out. Same thing on the other side. And again, down and down. Okay? And again on the ends. And over and down. All right. So there's our album base. Actually think I am going to take this piece that we trimmed off the sides here, and I am just going to trim that down for our gusset hider. Actually, that thing's completely covered in my mess. So we're going to make our gusset hider about 6 1/8 by whatever width is left of that piece that we cut off the end here when we were covering this. So I am going to actually run some score tape on here on either side of that whole gusset for our book hinge. I'm going to run a little bit through the middle here. And that's going to do that. And then I'm going to run it all the way around my gusset hider. Hinge hider, gusset hider. Honestly, don't know which truly you call that. Okay, so let's see how that's going to fit. And then we're just going to remove tape back and get this sucker put down. Maybe. burnish the heck out of this. And then we're going to fold. So as you fold, you're going to take the bone folder and you're just going to work that down in to that hinge. Same thing on the other side. And there we go. There's our base. We're going to do this so that we make sure that that seam we have is going to be on the back side of the book. And we are ready to start building and attaching our pages. Okay, so let's do our page construction. I have 2 of my pages done already. I'm going to show you how we do this. So the page base is going to be 6 by 12. So you're literally just going to take a sheet of 12 by 12 cardstock and cut it in half. Okay, there's our page bases. For the pockets and the inserts, you're going to take 1 sheet and you're going to do this for each page. So we're going to have 4 pages, so you need 2 pages, or two 12 by 12 cut into 6 by 12. That'll be your 4 page bases. And then you need 4 more sheets of 12 by 12 to cut the pockets and inserts. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to line this up at 6 5/8 and cut. We're going to turn it. We're going to go to 4 inches. And 4 inches. Okay, these are our pockets. This we can use as a tag. We can use it a couple different ways we can use this. Tag, my other thought was to do basically just fold it in half and kind of stick that in the pocket hanging out as like a place you could remove and like journal inside. So we're going to think about how we're going to do that exactly. Okay, so you've got your 2 pockets and then either journaling spot or tag. We'll decide that in a minute. This is our piece that's left that's 5 3/8 by 12. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this, we're going to go 5 1/2. Let's make sure I'm actually measuring right. 5 1/2 and 5 1/2. And then out of that sheet, that's all you're going to have left. Okay? So let me move this to the side, grab the scoreboard. So to score these, we're going to take our 6 by 12 page base. My stylus is not where it's supposed to be. Okay, 6 by 12, 12 inch at the top. You're going to score it 1/2 inch. And then at 6 1/4. For crying out loud, why am I having such a hard time with this today? Okay, so now what we're going to do, I'm going to fold that in half on the score line. You're going to fold this over. What you're going to check is to see if this lays flat, and it does not. It's bubbling ever so slightly. So all I'm going to do is stick this in the paper trimmer, and I'm going to just shave off just the tiniest bit, probably not even a 1/16 of an inch off the edge of this. Okay, so here's the little tiny piece I took off. And now it will fold completely flat. Okay. Do that one more time with our other page. So 1/2 inch, 6 1/4 inches. Fold. Then we'll come back and burnish our score lines here in a second. Fold. Nope, slightly too long. So once again, I'm just going to shave off just that tiniest bit off the end so it lays flat. Okay. So for our pages, so here's our 2 inserts. We're going to move those off to the side. For our pockets, with the 6 5/8 side at the top, you're going to score it 1/2 inch. Turn. So now your 4-inch side is at the top. 1/2 inch. Turn it one more time. 1/2 inch. Okay. So 1/2 inch. Turn. 1/2 inch. Turn. 1/2 inch. Okay. So those we are going to take and we're going to miter this corner. So we're going to come in like that. And again on the other side. And pull that little piece out. We're going to do this on both corners. You can fold this first if it helps you to better see your score lines. That's fine. Or you can do it before you've actually folded them. It's whatever works best for you. Okay? Alright, so let's get some tape on these. I'm using 3/8 inch score tape. I could use 1/2 inch because they are 1/2 inch edges that we're folding over and adhering down, but what tends to happen with 1/2 inch score tape is once you go to fold this, it's hanging over the edge somewhere. So if it's hanging over the edge on the inside of your pocket, it's going to catch whatever you're putting inside the pocket. If it's hanging over the edge on the outside of the pocket, then it's just going to collect dirt and dust and so forth. So, alright, so let's finish assembling our page. I'm going to go ahead and go over this score line with our bone folder. Make sure it's good and crisp. Okay, so with this little flap, little 1/2 inch flap on your left hand side, I'm going to go ahead and adhere my first pocket. And you can absolutely use glue on this. Usually when I do prototypes of things, I actually do use the glue because it's cheaper than score tape. And since I don't always know for sure if my prototype is going to be something that I keep or I give away, or, you know, I just do it without pattern paper to see how it's going to all work, and then, you know, that's it. The glue is a little bit more economical when doing that, because score tape does get expensive, but that's okay. It's just a preference. I know a lot of people like using glue on the entire album. I have done that with some even that weren't prototypes. In fact, I know when we lived in Georgia, when we were stationed down there, I couldn't use tape. Like regular tape would just, it wouldn't stick. And even like after I put something in the mail and sent it, you know, back home to Utah where it's nice and dry, thank goodness, you know, it still would not, it still wouldn't hold. So, you know, I did get in a habit for a long time there. I used glue on literally everything, and don't have to do that so much now. So there is a completed page. Okay, do this one more time. Since this one I have it prepped, we're just going to go ahead and burnish our score lines. And at the same time, we're burnishing that score tape onto the paper. Get our backing off, get our pocket assembled. Make sure we've got our page burnished. Okay, and if you wanted the flaps on these to open the other direction, literally all you'd have to do is turn the page around that way. I want them as you're opening the book that you're seeing that page. So, I'm sorry, that flap. So we're just going to center this on here. I'm going to do it one more time. Okay, and there's inserts for that one. All right, so our pages are done. Okay, so let's go ahead and start matting these. So what I have done is I have taken my 6x6 paper pad, and I have actually pulled all of the pages out of the pad because this is going to use pretty much all of them. I'm getting my smaller paper trimmer for this. And then I actually also have the matching solids pack from the Lost in Neverland collection that I'm going to use to kind of supplement these, because there's going to be places where we don't necessarily want patterned. We'd rather have a solid page. So we've got those to supplement with as well. So I'm going to go ahead and, as soon as I figure out where my ruler has disappeared to. So I'm going to go ahead and give you measurements. However, as you go to mat your book, you're going to want to measure your pages, because everybody's is going to come out slightly different. I don't want you cutting paper, wasting paper by cutting it the wrong size, because you're going off my measurements and your page is slightly different. So these pages are 5 3/4 across, 6 inches high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull these inserts out of here. And I think what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to pull the inserts out of all of these and set them to the side for right now, because those are probably going to be one of the last things that we actually mat, because truly we could leave them just like this and maybe just add, you know, a strip of, you know, one of the pattern paper to it just on an edge or something. And really the artisan cardstock is heavy enough and nice looking that you could leave them just like this and not even do much in the way of matting. You know, we'll see where we are when we get to that point. But basically what I'm going to do with the pockets are, I'm going to, okay, so this is 3.5 by, no, about 5 5/8 across. Not quite 5 5/8 across. So what I would typically do in this case is I would take, well, let's see here, what do we want to work with? Oh, that's the one I want, I think. No, it's not. Okay, so I would take a one of these 6x6 pages. And I'm going to cut this down to 5 7/8 by 5 7/8 because that's about the size. What did I do there? Is that wider? Oh, no, I didn't cut it right. Okay, so let's, no, I did too. Not 5 7/8. These are 5 3/4, so I want to go 5 5/8 wide. I know I'm losing my mind. It's been a long week, and it's only Tuesday. No, it's Wednesday. I'm sorry, it's Wednesday. So this is the right width and the right height for the entire page. That's where I got off. Height is 5 7/8. Width is 5 5/8. So what I can do here, okay, so this pocket is 3 1/2 inches high. So I can take this and I can go 3 3/8. And then I've got my mat for down here. I can take the smaller piece, I can flip it over, and there's the mat for the top of my page. Okay, I could absolutely mix and match these if I wanted to. Honestly, it's entirely up to you. You could leave this blank and do something else up here. But since those are, you know, the back and front, they're going to work perfectly to mat this as is. So I'm going to find another one for the back side. So we're going to go 5 7/8 high, and then we're going to go 5 5/8 wide, and then we're going to cut it to 3 3/8. Now let's measure it right. That would help, wouldn't it? 3 3/8. And then I have a top and a bottom that I can do on both sides. Okay, so that's how we're going to mat the pockets. On the inside here, I can literally take, once again, we'll go 5 7/8 wide, maybe. So the top of this is wonky, so let's 5 7/8 by 5 5/8, making sure that, you know, we're getting this top part where this little hole is. Let's make sure we're cutting from the right end. And then I can do a 5 5/8, and I did just cut that completely wrong because of course I did. But you get the basic idea. You can do an entire sheet in here. So really I can turn this one over this way and be fine. You know, you could piece this where you're using a solid, you know, any one of the solids. This one just happens to be solid on the back. You know, where you're doing a photo mat for that, and then some strips of pattern on the side. So like say I wanted to do a photo mat and I wanted to use, you know, a strip of pattern to border it with. Okay, so now we are going to work on an element that's going to go on the inside front cover, inside back cover of the album. To do this is going to be something a little bit different than as far as like we're going to do some little kind of a pocket, but not entirely. So I have, and this is ancient, I'm honestly not even sure how long I had this. This is an old EK Success circle cutter, because we need to start with a 5 1/2 inch circle. Okay. Of course, everything is like static clinging to the mat. I didn't cut through on one side because, of course, it didn't. I don't think I was pushing hard enough, actually. There we go. Okay. So we have our 5.5 inch circle. What we're going to do is we're going to fold this in half. And kind of get a little crease where our half is. And then we're going to stick this in the paper trimmer. Maybe. Actually, we're going to fold it completely in half so we have a good crease here so I can see where I need to cut it in half. We're going to line this up in here. And we're going to cut it in half. Then, because we know it's 5.5, and now we have a flat edge to go from, so 5.5 is going to be 2 3/4. So now we have a quarter of a circle. Okay. So now we're going to take these. We're going to get our scoreboard. Apparently our scoring stylus. And we are going to score these at 1/4 inch. And then turn it and go 1/4 inch again. Okay. And then trim this. So we're going to have a little tiny pocket that's going to go on our front inside cover and back inside cover. I'm going to do this on all 4 pieces of the circle. I think that one moved on me, didn't it? It did. That's not quite right. There we go. Okay. I'm just going to trim that ever so slightly, just like we did with our big pockets. Okay, move those off to the side. Okay, so we've got our pockets. We'll bring the circle cutter back in, and we're going to measure this really quickly as soon as I can figure out where my ruler has disappeared to yet again. I have no idea. Okay, so after it is scored and folded, this is coming in at 2.5. So let's make this next circle 4 7/8. Okay. And of course, we're crooked. That's okay. Because we're just using the circle to mat, it's not going to be as big of a deal if it's not perfect. Okay, so 2.5. We're actually going to go 2. And we're just going to cut this in quarters again, just like we did with the first one. good mat on here. Still a little bit big. So what I'm going to do, since it is still a little bit big, we're just going to take about 1/8 of an inch off of each side. And that should actually get us about where we want to be. Okay? So we've got those cut. Okay, so you remember how we had those 6 3/8 by 4 inch pieces left from when we cut our pages? Okay, I'm going to cut these down to 6 inches. And then by 3.5 inches. Sorry, I cut like 3 of them, not the other one. Okay. You're then going to score these at 1/2 inch with 3.5 inch side on the top. Okay. Actually, whoops. I'm going to stack these up and I'm going to miter. Actually, no, I'm not. I don't want to miter the corners. Okay, so I'm going to bring our book back in. Fold these over. You're going to get one of these. And this is going to go on the front, flush with the bottom of the side like so. And then that flap is going to go on here. And then you're going to do another one on the other side. Same thing. And then we're actually going to use some of the 4x4 cut aparts from the full size sheet to make a little insert that's going to slip down in here and hold this closed. We're going to do this on the front and on the back. So what I'm going to do is try to get a hold of the tiny score tape. I don't think I want to use the 1/4 inch wherever I've lost it now. There it is. I think it's going to end up hanging over the edge. Yes, it will. Okay, so we're actually going to do this with glue. I think that'll be easier because then we have a second to kind of position it. So I'm going to put just a little bit of glue on one side. I'm going to get it lined up over here. Press that down. Fold the other side in. Again, we're going to make sure everything's lined up. We're going to, well, or it's going to come off either way. You know the basic gist of it. I mean, it's a pocket. Please, I swear. Okay. We're going to hold that down for just a minute. What I'm actually going to do, if I can find them, I know I put them over here earlier. Okay, apparently I can't find them, so I was going to clip them, but that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and run score tape on that flap. And on, there it is, that flap. And peel that off. We're going to kind of hold this one down about where it needs to go and use that to position this one. Actually needs to just go right up to the edge here and just center it on the page. Going to get our next one ready to go. Make sure you got your page oriented the right way. Let's burnish that score line down. Okay. Okay, and then we're going to put this one on this other side, and we're going to push this all the way down. We're going to match our edge up here, so side to side, and then we're going to push that back down. So there we go. And we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, so we've got our little half circle pockets on here, on our flaps. How are we matting these? Okay, these are matted at, I believe that's 6 inches, sorry. Bear with me just 1 second. Don't remember how tall it was. Okay, so we're gonna go 5 7/8 high. And then we're going to go 2 7/8 wide. We do need 2 of those. And I'm actually going to ink these, imagine that. Because I never ink stuff, but this one just kind of needed it, I think. Okay, so to put these in, all I'm going to do, I'm going to work this down in here. Let's try the other side. Oh, the other side wants to work perfectly good. Okay, I'm going to work that down in here, get it kind of where I want it. I'm going to leave it there, and I'm just going to kind of, while leaving it tucked down in where it needs to go. I'm going to run my glue, and then I'm not having to fight with it to get it back down in the pocket all the way. I can just slide it around to where it needs to be. It's not going to matter that there's not glue under this corner because this is protecting that corner. Now I've got to figure out where my glue seeped out on this side that doesn't, why this doesn't want to. let me slide that down in there. There we go. It's just a little bit tight on this side, which is even better because, like I said, where we're not gluing that one side, just going to wiggle that back in where it goes and push that down. Okay, so there's those. Underneath them, I've just got another piece that, which really we can do this a couple of ways. We can do just an entire sheet back here. We could cut this up so we have half and half and then do a solid in here. I don't want to cut that one up, but I can with those. So this one is almost the right size. This one we're going to cut it down to 5 7/8. And on this one, because really we could leave the backs of these blank and it would be fine. And that's going to close over the top of it. Actually, I think I want this one on this side. This side feels to me like it needs a little more color. Okay. I didn't ink that, did I? Of course I didn't. Haha. Okay. Oops. Alright. Yeah, let's get a bit more glue on here since some of that dried. Fortunately, that doesn't matter. It's okay. Okay, and we're going to center this in here. Get that pressed down, and there we go. And I just need to pick which one I'm going to use on this side. Am I going to turn it over and use the stars? I think I am. So we'll go 5 7/8 wide. How high was that one? Was that one 6? No, 5 7/8 again. Perfect. Okay. I'll ink it beforehand this time. And then it's going to go in there just like that. Okay, I am going to turn this so that I can see exactly where I'm lining that up. All right. So I'm going to finish matting, and then we'll come back and we'll put the pages in the book, and we can decorate, and then we'll be done. Okay, so here I've taken 2 of the 4x4 cut aparts from the full-size sheet. I've just backed them with some of the cardstock, and those slip right in there and hold those closed. I did not mat the back of these yet. I might. I'm waiting to kind of see where I am paper-wise before I do that and before I start matting the inserts. But before we do that, we are going to get something on the outside of the book. So I pulled aside these 2 sheets out of the 6x6 pad, this, out of all of the sheets in the full size, the full 12 by 12, this is my favorite paper out of all of them. So that's what we're going to use on the front and back of our book. I have literally just trimmed that off as close to the top as I could. So we've got a 6 by 6 piece that is going to fit just perfectly on the front here. And go ahead and glue that down. I think I am going to leave, don't know if I'm going to mat the spine or if I'm going to do something on it out of the ephemera pack or the sticker sheet, because we still have all that, but I do have a plan for the sticker sheet, so I don't want to get too into that. Okay, so there is our cover. Okay, so got that matted. We're going to go ahead and put our pages in our book. I have matted the front and back. I have not yet matted the inside because, once again, I'm waiting to see what scraps I have. We still have not really used with the exception of right here, we haven't used any of the solids, so we'll probably put some of those in here. And I'm not sure. The reason I haven't matted the insides of these yet is because I'm not sure if I want to use magnets or not. So we're going to see how they actually lay in the book. If we've got them, you know, trying to pop open too much, then we'll go ahead and probably throw some magnets in there. So to attach our pages into our book, we are actually going to use glue for this. You can use score tape. I'm using glue primarily because that's going to give me a little bit of time to be able to kind of move it around and make sure I've got it in the right place. So each of these page hinges is 1/2 inch. We have 4 of them, so that's going to be 2 inches. Our spine is 2 1/4, so we want to come in about 1/8 of an inch from this line and then just center it up. So get my glue on here. And then I'm gonna get this positioned down about where I want it. Center it up here, slide it back just a touch. I'm just going to hold on to it for just a second. Make sure I don't have any glue going anywhere it's not supposed to. Make sure everything's straight. Okay. And we're going to do the same thing with the next one. Give this just a second more to dry. We're going to do the same thing again on the next one. And really, overall, this is not a complicated album. I did this for my first design team project for a couple of reasons. One, I don't know about you, but I always buy 6 by 6 paper pads, and if it's not something that I end up making cards with, you know, I don't ever quite know what to do with them. So, you know, my thought was, wouldn't this be kind of fun if we had an album that is entirely with the 6 by 6 paper pad. And then 2, this is a very, very easy album. You don't have to know how to do the hinge system. You know, we're doing this, you know, these are essentially kind of big flaps, more so than, you know, what you would normally do for pages in an album like this. So if you're brand new to this, you've never done it before, this would be a good project to start on. Oh, this one is trying to lift up on me. I'm going to have to put some more glue in there. Because I am trying to go too fast and I am not giving it time to get completely dry, which is entirely my fault. Okay. And then one more. I'm just going to kind of keep these upright rather than trying to let them lay over on their side. Because they're not liking that right now. And all we're doing when we put these pages in is we're just making sure that it's lined up to the page ahead of it and that we're pushed up to the bottom of the page ahead of it. Okay. All right, so all these are in here. I'm going to give these just a few minutes to dry, and then we will kind of see. I think we may be able to get away without magnets, which is good. You could totally put them in there if you wanted to, but I think we might be okay without them. Let's see here. Close this up. We could add them. Wouldn't hurt anything. Let's go ahead and put some magnets in here. Let me find my magnets and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've got the magnets in here. Let me show you what I did. So I've got a magnet on this side and there's a magnet underneath here. I've done this on all of the pages, and then I have matted them with a combination of the solids and the patterned. Okay, so let's just stick these last two on here. Make sure we got the right one in the right place. Because I'm really good at not doing that. So that is all matted. I have also matted the inserts. All I did is just take just some scraps that I had left from the main matting and just do a border on each of these. You could journal on here, you could put a photo on here, however you want to do it. I did actually, because I know we had these initially 5 3/8 by 5 1/2. I actually did cut them all down to 5 3/8 by 5 3/8, just so you weren't having to, I wasn't having to, you know, try and you know, guess which side I wanted turned which way. That way they're just perfectly square. Let's get all of these slid in here. And then I've got one of the 6x6 pieces that had the borders. I've actually got these cut apart here. I'm going to fill these in, you know, here and there throughout the book, just as decoration. I'm also going to dig out some the ephemera pack that I received with my design team papers, and possibly some of my chipboard that I had left from my big Neverland album that I did prior to being on the design team. So yeah, now at this point I did end up matting this with just a scrap of the 6x6, and literally, other than, you know, like little tiny strips, this is all that's left. So we used the entire 6x6 paper pad, supplemented that with about, maybe, I don't think it was even 3 complete sheets of the solids, maybe 2.5 total between the three different sheets. So I am going to decorate this, and I'll be back. Okay, it's done. Not super hard. I kept the decorating very simple because this paper is just adorable and it really doesn't need much help. So on the front here, I just took the little banner pieces that are in the ephemera pack, and I backed them with some of the navy cardstock. Same with this one. Ran some baker's twine underneath there and tied it on the ends to make it look like it's hanging. This was one of the little bonus chipboard stickers that is with the brads that I had in my stash from my other album. Inside we've got our little 4x4. Open that up. I just added a little bit of the border strip from the 6x6 pad. Some of the stickers from the sticker sheet. A piece from the ephemera pack, and this is loose on top, so you could put a photo under here. You could use this as a tuck spot. Added a sticker in there. Of course, we've got just our mat in here. Another mat, another one of the chipboard pieces. I think this was actually from the chipboard sheet that I also had as just in my stash from my big Neverland album. One of the border pieces, I just cut the ends off and then backed it with some of the blue cardstock. This is open on this side so you can get a photo underneath there. Once again, one of the bonus chipboard pieces with the brads. This is open on both sides, so this could be used as a tuck spot as well. Open for a tuck spot. I didn't do anything else to this one because we did cut apart that border page and put that there. This one is popped up. Just some more stickers and another one of the borders from the 6x6 pad that I cut up, and just one of the ephemera pieces and some of the enamel dots on the end. And there you have it. I will hope you enjoy this. If you follow the tutorial and make your own version, please share it with me on my Facebook at Scrapping Under the Influence. And thanks for watching.